I turned the corner onto Willow Drive, and my heart stopped dead in my chest. There, sprawled across my pristine front lawn, was a folding table draped with a tacky plaid tablecloth. Behind it stood Linda Harper, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed queen bee, her platinum blonde hair teased to perfection, giant sunglasses perched on her nose like she was auditioning for a reality show. But it wasn't her smug presence that made my blood boil. It was the stuff on that table. My dad's old turntable, the one he'd spun Sinatra on every Sunday. The cordless drill I bought when I moved into this house. Hell, even the framed photos from our family trip to Yosemite last year. My life, my memories, laid out like a flea market with little price tags swinging in the breeze. I slammed on the brakes, nearly getting rear-ended by some guy in a pickup who laid on his horn as he swerved past. I didn't care. My brain was too busy trying to process the nightmare unfolding on my own damn property. I've been gone 5 days, for a work conference in Seattle. And somehow, Linda had turned my home into her personal pawn shop. I pulled into my driveway, tires screeching on the gravel, and jumped out, storming toward her. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted, my voice shaking with rage. Linda was mid-haggle with an older couple over my mom's antique silver teapot, a family heirloom worth more to me than any dollar amount she'd scrawled on that tag. The couple froze, muttered apologies, and scurried off to their car. Linda, though, she didn't even flinch. She just tilted her head, her smile as fake as her tan, and said, "Excuse me, but who or saw you saw?" Before I could spit out an answer, her manicured claws were already on her phone, dialing 911. "Yes, I need to report an intruder at 427 Willow Drive," she said, her voice dripping with syrupy concern. "He's disrupting our HOA-sanctioned property clearance and getting aggressive. Please hurry." I stood there, jaw on the ground, as she painted me as the bad guy in my own front yard. An intruder? In my own house. It was unreal. 2 years ago, I'd moved to Pinewood Grove, lured by the big yards, shady trees, and the promise of a quiet life away from the city's chaos. The realtor had sold me on the fact that there was no HOA nosy committees telling me what color to paint my fence or how many Christmas lights were too many. After years in a condo with rules about everything from curtains to barbecue grills, this place felt like freedom. The first few months were perfect. Neighbors waved, barbecues filled the air with smoky goodness, and I spent weekends planting a garden, hanging bird feeders, and making the house my own. For the first time since Leah VYing my small hometown, I felt like I belonged. Then I met Linda Harper. According to Mrs. Alvarez, my sweet next-door neighbor who'd welcomed me with tamales and a warning about that Harper woman, Linda had lived here for over a decade. She'd moved in with her husband, but he'd vanished under murky circumstances years ago. Since then, she'd poured all her energy into what Mrs. Alvarez called neighborhood meddling. Linda had tried 3 times to start an official HOA, but nobody wanted her lording over their lives. So she just acted like one existed anyway, slipping her homemade violation notices into mailboxes for things like unkempt hedges or unapproved porch decor. My first run-in with her came 2 weeks after I moved in. I found a note in my mailbox claiming I'd VY OLAT Section 6.2 of the Community Covenant because my trash cans were VY Cybele on a non-pickup day. I politely told her there was no HOA, which she brushed off, saying it was in the process of formalizing, and that I was still expected to follow her rules. When I refused to join her fake club or pay the ridiculous dues she dreamed up based on my house's size, I became her favorite target. Notices started piling up for excessive bird feeder active VY tie, for wind chimes disrupting neighborhood harmony. She'd snap pictures of my house at all hours, like some wannabe detective. Neighbors told me to ignore her, that she was just lonely and bored. "She's harmless," Mrs. Alvarez said with a shrug. I filed her notes in a folder I called Linda's Delusion Diaries and moved on. But this? Stealing my stuff and selling it? This was a whole new level of crazy. I'd left town Monday for a sales conference, my first big trip since getting promoted to regional manager. I'd asked Mrs. Alvarez to grab my mail and water my porch plants, and I'd hidden a spare key under a ceramic frog by my garden, just in case. Never in a million years did I think Linda would use it to rob me blind. That Friday, I came home a day early when the conference wrapped up ahead of schedule. Something fell off the second I pulled up. My porch lanterns were gone. My sister's housewarming gifted goofy welcome mat was missing. I figured maybe some punk kids had swiped them, but then I saw lights flickering in my garage and heard faint 80s music coming from my backyard. Heart pounding, I crept around the side of my house. My garden hose was neatly coiled. Something I never done. My potted plants had been rearranged into some fussy display. The back door was propped open with my own doorstop, and cardboard boxes were stacked on my patio, labeled in handwriting I didn't recognize. Kitchen items, $5 each. Electronics, as marked. My stomach churned as I picked up a pricing sheet, clipped to a box, printed on some I saw stationery from my home office. Linda had been in my house, helping herself to everything. I followed the sound of chatter to my front yard, where Linda was running a full-blown estate sale with some I saw life. There she was, chatting up customers like she owned the place, while my college textbooks, my fancy coffee maker, and even my grandfather's fishing gear sat on display. I snapped. "Hang up the phone, Linda," I said, stepping toward her, my voice low but shaking. "You know exactly who I am. You're stealing my stuff. That's illegal. Put the phone down, or I'm calling the cops myself." She just raised a finger, shushing me like I was a kid, and kept talking to the dispatcher. "Yes, he's a white male, mid-30s, getting hostile. I fear for my safety and the other HOA members here. The homeowner's away until tomorrow, and this guy's claiming to be him." I couldn't believe her nerve. A crowd was gathering now, neighbors I knew, strangers I didn't. Some browsed my stuff, oblivious to the theft. Others whispered, sensing the drama. I felt exposed, like my whole life was on display for judgment. "Everyone," I shouted, turning to the crowd. "This woman broke into my house and is selling my things without permission. There's no HOA here, and even if there was, it wouldn't give her the right to do this. This is a crime." A few neighbors nodded, but others looked torn, glancing between me and Linda. She didn't miss a beat. "I'm conducting an authorized clearance of abandoned property to fund community improvements," she announced, covering her phone's mic. "As acting president of the Pinewood Grove HOA, I have the authority to liquidate violations." The homeowner was notified 3 times via official correspondence. I laughed, but it was pure disbelief. "Abandoned? I've been gone 5 days, Linda. And those official notices? They're just your made-up nonsense." I pulled out my phone, scrolling to photos of her ridiculous citations like one for non-native birds disrupting ecological balance. The crowd chuckled, and I saw her smile twitch. "What HOA board, Linda? Name one other member." Before she could answer, sirens wailed, and a patrol car rolled up. 2 officers stepped out. Officer Bennett, older, with a seen-it-all VYB, and Officer Riley, a rookie with a crisp uniform. Linda rushed them, still on her 911 call. "Officers, thank God you're here. I'm Linda Harper, HOA president. This man's disrupting our authorized clearance and making threats." I cut in, trying to stay calm. "I'm the VYD Mitchell, and this is some I saw house. I never gave anyone permission to touch my stuff. I was away for work and came back to this." Bennett asked for my ID. I handed over my driver's license, which listed 427 Willow Drive, and offered to show my deed and mortgage papers inside. "I've also got doorbell camera footage that'll prove what she did," I added, praying it had caught something. Linda's smug look faltered for a split second. "As HOA president, I have authority to access properties violating our covenant," she insisted, pulling out a stack of her fake notices, complete with clip art gavels and references to imaginary laws. Bennett skimmed her papers, his face skeptical. "These aren't legally binding, ma'am. They don't cite real codes, and they're not from any recognized authority." He turned to me. "Let's check inside, Mr. Mitchell." Linda tried to follow, but Riley stopped her, and the look on her face, pure outrage, was almost worth the nightmare. Inside, my house was a crime scene. Drawers yanked open, artwork gone, my fridge cleaned out and reorganized like Linda was playing house. My bedroom was the worst. My watches, cufflinks, and suits were missing, and a photo of my late parents had been ripped from its silver frame, the frame tag for sale. I felt sick. Bennett took notes while I grabbed my deed and mortgage docs, pro-VYing I own the place. Then we pulled up my doorbell footage. The VY Deo was gold. Tuesday morning, Linda showed up with another notice, knocked, then snuck around to grab my spare key from under the frog. She tested it in my lock, pocketed it, and came back over the week, starting with small stuff and escalating to furniture hauled out on a dolly. By Thursday, she had a Kruger's so-called HOA board pricing my life like it was a garage sale. That's breaking and entering, theft, and a false police report, Bennett said, exchanging a look with Riley. She's in deep trouble. Back outside, the crowd had doubled. Some neighbors even setting up lawn chairs like this was a block party. Kids peeked from behind parents. Teens filmed for their socials. Linda was arguing with another officer. Her perfect hair, now a mess, mascara smudging. The neighborhood was buzzing, swapping stories of her years of fake notices and petty power trips. Mr. Coleman, a 30-year resident, stepped up. There's never been an HOA here. Linda's been pushing this nonsense forever, but it's all fake. Mrs. Alvarez chimed in, voice trembling. She's targeted to VYD since he moved in. I never thought she'd go this far. Linda's face went red, but she clung to her story. I've been upholding standards for 15 years. Without me, this place would be a slum. Riley wasn't VYing it. Mrs. Harper, you're coming to the station. Turn around, hands behind your back. As Bennett read her rights, her portfolio hit the ground, spilling her obsessive notes maps, spreadsheets, color-coded violation logs. The crowd went silent as she was cuffed and led to the patrol car, screaming about community integrity until the door slammed shut. Neighbors started returning my Stuff Me Dad's tackle box, my mom's teacups, my kitchen gear, apologizing for buying stolen goods. Mrs. Alvarez rallied folks to clean up my yard, and Mr. Coleman shared how Linda once tried to fine him for his overheight oak tree. We laughed, but it hit me how we'd all let her get away with this for years, avoiding conflict until she crossed a line nobody could ignore. By sunset, most of my stuff was back, though some was gone for good. Bennett gave me a case number for insurance and warned I'd need to testify in court. That Tuesday, after changing every lock, I found an envelope in my mailbox. My stomach dropped. It was Linda's letterhead, that stupid gavel clip art glaring at me. She was out on bail, and somehow she'd slipped me one last notice. This one was different, fancy font, intricate border, like she'd poured her soul into it. The violation? Improper attitude. It listed dates and times I'd disrupted community harmony, ending with a handwritten scrawl in red ink. Saw consider this a final warning. Saw the pen had nearly torn the paper, the words jagged and raw. I stood in my driveway, the paper shaking in my hand, realizing this wasn't over. Linda wasn't done. Maybe she never would be. So what do you think? Was I too soft on Linda all those months, letting her notices pile up instead of shutting her down? Should the neighborhood have banded together sooner to stop her reign of terror? And that final no creepy harassment, or just a desperate last jab? Could someone like Linda ever change? Or is she too far gone? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this got your blood pumping, and subscribe for more wild stories. Let's get this debate going.